We're live. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much to everyone who's been joining us each week. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome. And if you're returning to watch Joey and I, this is Own Your Gifts, episode 10, where Joey and I share our experiences with recovery, and we also get the opportunity to interview some amazing guests. And today we've got a very special guest. But before I introduce our guest for today, Joey, how are you doing, mate?
I'm doing great. The weather's coming up here in New Jersey. We're in the high 80s, and that's a good sign. I'm a warm weather guy, so I'm psyched about that. That's our show here on Thursday nights in the U.S. anyway, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then, like you always say, speaking to the future, Friday, 11 a.m. the following day is quickly becoming my favorite part of the week, because the fun that we have, but I think it's a great opportunity for us to shed light on on the addicted and show people that there's another way to live, and to show people that there's help, and that's a lot about what we're going to talk about here tonight. And so like we wrote in the post, like this is a show about trying to make a difference in other people's lives, and so we try to do that 1 hour at a time. And I'm really excited for our guest, and I'm interested to know more about what she does and who she serves and how. So let's do it.
Before we bring Jen on, if you guys are watching, please let us know where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you guys. And before, let's introduce Jen. Jen, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm well, thanks, guys. Grateful for the opportunity to enlighten you a little bit on my life and stories about addiction.
We can't wait to hear some more. So everyone who's watching, Jen is the head of well-being at the South Sydney Rabbitohs Football Club, which is absolutely amazing. It's a real honour to have you on the show, Jen. It's a pleasure to know you, and I can't wait to hear some more about your stories. So welcome, yes.
Thank you, guys.
Tell us
so for us people here in the U.S., and we touched on this, at pre-show, and I apologize for my ignorance, but you guys call rugby football, right? And there's a difference between rugby and rugby league. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that, because I don't quite understand.
Well, rugby is the gentleman's game, so to speak. Rugby league originated in the 1900s here in Australia, in Sydney. It's a fabulous sport. It's a working class sport. It doesn't denominate any race or creed. We love them all. It's a great game. It's a family game, and I'm very proud to be a part of it.
I get it.
Sounds like a good definition to me, Joey.
Yeah.
If you want to go into the specifics, we could sit here and talk all day. But alas, my job is not in the football department. It's above ground in the well-being space.
Yeah, what I'm more interested in, as the head, what is it, head of wellness? Head of well-being. Head of well-being. I love that word. What are some of the things that you come up against when we're talking about somebody's well-being? I'm assuming we're talking about integrating the mind, body, and soul, and creating a more holistic, functional health.
That's exactly right. And in today's society, and especially working with elite athletes, we have to look at the holistic fundamentals. And, athletes are amazing guys, but like everybody, they have their time where they need time alone. They need time away from the pressure. And sometimes they succumb to what they shouldn't succumb to. But I'm very privileged to work with these men every day of my life. And even though some of them have succumbed to the path of addiction and are in active recovery, they're really grateful for my help. They want to buy in. the relatable part with me is I have a lived experience of mental health. I have a sister and a father who were both addicts, so I know what goes on. I know how it affects the family. And for my guys here at the Rabbitohs, they're just great people. And they really want to better themselves. At this stage, I might like to say that we have won 7 games in a row. Of course, that's not up to me, but I'd like to think that a small part of my job does relate to their well-being on and off the field.
I was watching the game last night, Jen, and it really does make me happy to see the Bunnies kicking ass like that, and especially there's been some shift in me since knowing and working with you around that stuff. So yeah, go the Bunnies. That was great. You do it.
They're very passionate people. The organisation is very passionate about what they do, how our players and families are treated. It's not just about the player. We've got a real emphasis today at South Sydney on the whole athlete, the whole family, bringing them into our space, letting them know what we do for their sons, letting them know and experience that path of development, both physically and mentally. And now, with the inception of a program by our owner, Russell Crowe, we're now taking that on the road, resilience, learning, and connected, Respect and Connected, which is a program which is to inform and educate people on drug abuse, social media, treatment of women, which is something that has been done many times before, but we're taking it into a new era. We're taking it into a relatable type of education. No more PowerPoints, no more little videos about this and that. We want reality, and that's what we're doing here at South Sydney. And for the next generation of our young athletes, we will be able to give them that education, and we'll be able to follow their journey much more than we've ever done before in this organisation. I'd like to thank my own superiors, my boss Brock Schaefer and my CEO Blake Solly for having this vision and for being able to let me do my work in this space. It's very important to me.
I mean, your passion for your work shines through, and that's everything. I could certainly relate. I would call myself an ex-athlete. I did play college athletics, and I could tell you that my alcohol and drug use played a huge part in, my inability to perform at my best. However, I was known to have what they call a cover your ass performance, but I definitely was not firing on all cylinders. And, my inability to manage my thinking and my emotions often took me out of the game, and made me a difficult person to coach, and as well as not the best teammate. And so when we're talking about holistic functional health, we're talking about our mindset, our health set, our heart set, and our soul set. Mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually need to be integrated in order for us to show up as our best selves. So I could definitely relate. And you're even taking it a little further and extending it, because if we're talking about addiction is obviously a family disease, and everybody is touched by it in the home, and so you're bringing it not only specifically with your players, but there's a ripple effect that overflows into their home and into the community, which I really appreciate.
During my career of 40 years, I've worked in corrections, I've worked in addiction, I've worked in nursing, I've been a teacher. But, it still never ceases to amaze me, the shame and the negativity of people around people that are in active addiction. My own sister is 18 years clean. She had a terrible time with alcohol, heroin, and prescribed drugs. I'm so proud of what she's achieved. Today, she's a noted drug and alcohol counsellor. People want to see her because she does great work. And like myself, we're relatable because we've lived that life. I haven't been an addict, but I've certainly lived that life through my father and my sister. I come from a trauma background and I have a lived experience of trauma. But what I'd like to emphasize on you guys and to anybody out there watching, work on your trauma. Work on your trauma till the day you die, because it's the best thing I ever did. It really made me the person that I am today. Yes, there's been a few bumps along the way and there's been some problems here and there, but you know what? It's about me giving back now. Gratitude, empathy, resilience is something I practice every day, and I encourage everyone I meet to do the same. My own son, an athlete himself and a rugby league player, succumbed to taking a banned substance and was banned from the game for 4 years. It broke my heart. It broke my family's heart. But to this day, I can say that my son's resilience shone through. Yes, he might have been shunned by the sporting world, but don't give up. Never give up, I told my son. If he murdered someone, I'd be on the bus to Long Bay. Some people might say, yes, probably you would be, but we never give up on our family. However much shame, whatever they do, never give up. Work on yourself. If you've got dual diagnosis, seek help. Find someone that can help you with this journey. It's extremely important.
It's such a the topics we're talking about, some of our favorite topics too, Dan, especially that resilience. And you mentioned gratitude too. You know, this show really came from that idea of sharing the gratitude. And so far out, I've got so much to say. First of all, let me just mention, you mentioned your sister, Karina. I just want to give a shout out to Karina. Karina was actually one of the workers at a rehabilitation center I went through 11 years ago. You know, actually the one center that completely changed my life because it got me off the methadone and living life. And Karina was one of the workers there, and we've got this little bit of a running joke that goes on that I'm still holding this little bit of a resentment that Karina didn't let me use the dryer one day. And it's really funny that I even bring that up because I give it to someone this morning, one of the boys who used the dryer last night without asking for permission. So, and Jen, just one other thing that you touched on there that I didn't, I can often come across that I can be a little bit naive. And one of the things you touched on is that stigma around coming out and the shame and guilt attached to sometimes about talking about our feelings. You know, for me, I haven't found it so hard because I guess I got thrown in the middle of recovery. But certainly for people in a position, maybe like some of the guys you work with, it would be extremely difficult to be able to come out and talk and break that stigma. So, yeah, anything on that?
What I'm finding working in sport, there's a lot of guys out there speaking mental health, and it ain't weak to speak, and you know, many such idioms around it. I have the privilege of working with guys like Latrell Mitchell, for one, who is a fabulous role model and a caring guy. And the message he's trying to give for his people is one that you're never going to find anywhere. And I'm so proud to be associated with someone like that. He's there to spread the word and say the message. And many people that I work with in my day-to-day life are running men's mental health charities. And like myself, they want to give back. They want to share the passion. But, you know, if you do get that chance to speak up, whether your voice is small or whether it's never going to be heard, don't miss that opportunity, because everybody's important. Everybody's message is important. Take time to listen. We're all so busy all the time, rushing here, rushing there. Do we ever ask ourselves, how are you today? You know, are you okay is the theme around. But, you know, we need to take that time every day to self-reflect, to remember our gratitude, remember our empathy. It's the little things people take for granted. My sister and I have a unique relationship, and probably due to addiction, we know it does make one very selfish. She says to me, Jan, I have 3 clients a day. so you can look after my mother who's ailing. So what do I say? I have to agree, that's fine. We'll just go that way, because I'm not going to change her. And for many years I tried to change her, but I don't want to change her, because she has a gift. She has that gift of helping people and helping them on this journey of recovery. So that's very important. Just to touch a little bit on my own family, my mother's of Irish descent and had a very traumatic motor vehicle accident. She was mowed down by a drunk driver and had severe accident and severe injuries. So that impacted on my sister and my own life severely. You know, we had poor attachment as children. I was brought up by my grandmother, and my sister went the other way, as we all know how her journey. But now here we are at 62 and 60. We are joining in force to help people that have suffered the way we have. So it's something I'm very proud of. And, you know, being allowed to do this job and to work with 178 men every day is a great feat for me. And if I can help anyone along the way, that's what I try to do. I'm not perfect. I can be tough and I can be hard, but I'll help anybody that I can, always. That's my motto in life.
Thanks.
Sounds like I'm on a sermon.
No, very good, Karina.
I'm speechless. I'm never speechless.
I was just looking up a quote that you mentioned, and saying that you have a no nonsense attitude and a caring nature, which makes you more of a therapist and a friend. Where's Karina? Karina, if you're watching, please drop your comments. Let us know you're watching. I know we've got a couple of Bunny supporters watching who have also mentioned. Hey, Natalie, just want to say hello to everyone who is joining us. So, yeah, thank you so much. And I think you're so lucky to have. Do you feel lucky to have your job, Jen? I often feel really privileged to work with the men that I work with, but I guess you're at another level compared to me like that. Do you feel like honoured and lucky to be a part of that work?
I'm a very strong woman, but as you can see, I've also got very broad shoulders, or you can't see. I'm no size 8 athlete here, but I've got to go through a few hoops, but that's all part of the job. But I give as good as I can get, don't you worry. But the thing is, every day is a challenge. There's always some challenge we've got to meet. It's how you face that challenge and how you deal with it. But unfortunately, in my life, I'm the one that always has had to make the decisions as a mother, as a boss, and now in my position as head of wellbeing. It's just what I do best. I put one foot forward every day. But as I'm older now, I'm happy in my own skin. I'm comfortable with who I am and what I do. And if people aren't happy with that, that's their problem. It's not mine. And I'm not buying into negativity anymore in any shape or form, wherever I work, whatever I do, or in my family as well. Not for me, thank you. To take a leaf out of my own son's book, Mum, please don't be on Facebook. I don't need to be on Facebook. I'm a keeper of secrets. I don't need to put all my qualifications on LinkedIn. Who am I trying to impress? I'm me. I don't want accolades. I don't want trophies. I want to help people, guys. That's what it's all about. That's what real recovery is all about. Yes, you do lose some every day, but for the ones that you can help, that's why I'm here. Thank you.
I love that. That is the purpose in life, is to be able to contribute beyond ourselves and to be of service to others. And you did mention, that typically the nature of somebody in active addiction is one of self-centeredness. And like I lived over 20 years in active addiction, and to say that I affected my family would be an understatement. I feel that I affected every single person that I came in contact with, because I was carrying a black cloud around with me. So I didn't even need to have directly harmed you or have any direct connection in you. You would just brush up against me and feel that death that I was carrying around with me. And it's another thing that you said that I found really, that just sparked some thoughts in my mind. And this isn't, I mean, it may be contrary to what you said, but it's my experience. And so we're here to share our experiences, and as an alcoholic and a drug addict, and as a person in recovery, and as somebody who has dedicated his life of helping others along the same path, I will say that there's a fine line between never giving up on your loved one who may be addicted and enabling that person. I could say for me, like, until I pushed every single person away and every single person turned their back on me, I didn't have a shot, because I was a taker. And if you would give me an inch, I would take a mile. And, I say that I don't live that way now, but I did live that way. And I think it's very common with addicts. And a lot of times it takes turning your back on your loved ones in order to help them. And when to do that and when not to do that is tough. Codependency is a whole nother conversation and show, but it's something definitely to be aware of, because I've personally seen in my own family, parents enabling their children and they end up dead. And it's sometimes you gotta turn your back on them. Sometimes you need to take out the 2x4. I don't know exactly. I don't think there's an exact blueprint on how and when to do that, but just know that it's most addicts. If you're, a real addict and an alcoholic, they're going to continue to take until they get to the end of the line.
They certainly are. And you talked about two very strong words there, codependency and enabling. We're all probably in our journey in recovery and in active addiction and helping people of enabling and recovering a little bit. But as your journey unfolds, you learn you can stop people enabling, and you can stop that codependency if you inform and educate along the way. But the path that these people in recovery have to go on is not always for them to negotiate or negate. Or are they getting the best help? Are they getting the best psychiatric help? How will we ever know? It's not a one-stop shop. We have to keep learning and educating. Us who work in this space, there's new things coming out all the time. I have the great privilege of working with one of Sydney's best addiction psychiatrists, Oliver O'Connell. He never ceases to amaze me. His stress sense is a bit out there, but he's a man that I really admire. And the work that he does, the way he treats people, I've never seen anything like it. And I've worked with him loyally for 3 years, and I hope I can continue to work with him for a long time, because the work he's done, the people he's helped, and the amount of people in long-term sobriety that he has helped is amazing. And I'm really proud to be associated with him, associated to be with my sister in a workspace and my own team. I have a wife of an alcoholic. I have one of my volunteers who's had severe trauma in her life. So my two counsellors, both Danny and Tracy, also have a lived experiences of addiction. So they're relatable, they're real, they understand. And earlier this year, when I don't like to use the word addicts, I call them challenged, came to speak in an education session for my athletes, there wasn't a dry eye in the room. It was so well received. It was like being at a wedding. The players actually shook everybody's hand before they left. It moved us. It moved us all, because you know why? They were real. They were telling the truth. Everybody in that room has got an auntie, an uncle, a brother, or someone that they know that has a problem. And who are we? Who are we to judge? Who are we to listen to podcasts and about other people's experiences? What we need to do is bring them out into the open and let them know that there is help. There's government funding for this, there's government funding for that. But what we need is government funding for drug and alcohol and rehabilitation. All over this country, people are crying out for it every day. Currently, at the moment, the wait time to see a psychiatrist in Sydney is between 3 and 6 months. It's appalling. We need to do more. And post-COVID, the problems are only getting worse. So for me, education, information, being able to negate the right doctor for you is very, very important.
Thanks for yeah, absolutely, Jen. And oh God, it's got so much in my mind. But yeah, first of all, thank you for mentioning. Yes, Joey, I have, and so if anyone out there like Jen, I work with Jen also, and I love that you mentioned that. And it is such an honour for me to be able to talk with some of these athletes and be able to share. I think I had a tear in my eye, absolutely, Jen. It doesn't take much for me to, when I'm sharing my story, to get a tear in my eye. And there is some magic in that authenticity when we can connect with people raw, unguarded. It adds a level. At the beginning of the show, you touched on how you're not using all the high-tech technology to deliver the message. We're using, us human beings to share those experiences, which I think is amazing. And often when I talk about my father, my old man always seems to get a mention on this show. And Shonky, yeah. If my brother's out there watching, he'd love to hear that. My old man, they call him Shonky still. He's 75 years old. That's his nickname. He taught me everything bad that I know. But just going back to that enabling stuff, I got to admit, I'm a bad enabler with my old man. I'll give him cash to go and gamble just because I've kind of got to this point in my life. And part of my amends, which is something that I learned along my journey to recovery, is forget about trying to change my dad now. He's 75. He ain't going to change. Just give him some cash to go and play the pokies. And I know that's probably not whatever, but I don't care. Like we do have a relationship, and it's hard to build on a relationship that was never there as well. So it's funny how that codependency, what you touched on, Jen, it's such a hard thing to break through and to change as well. Like change doesn't come. It's been 11 years for me that I've been working on that relationship with my dad. It's gotten amazing compared to what it used to be like. Only thing my dad and I used to talk about was crime, all the wrong stuff, So then let me share this too. I told my dad I love him when I was about 7 years clean. We've never said it to each other. He's never said it to me. I've never said it to him, but part of my amends was going up to him. I took him to Thailand on this trip, and I said to him, I go, Tony, it was the hardest thing on earth. I said, I love you. And he goes, I like you too, Danny. That was his response. So, yeah.
What's love got to do with it, Danny? What's love got to do with it? What you're talking about there is attachment, mate.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things in male sobriety, poor attachment. And that's something you'll probably struggle with in relationships. It's something that we have to work on, all of us, every day. But for males, that attachment they have with a loved one, in a parenting role, it's the catalyst for a lot of psychiatric disorders and addiction. It's been proven. But if you tell that to the uneducated, they don't get it. But what you're saying there is purely, Joseph, you would understand, it's really about the attachment. And you're really wanting consent from your father for him to love you. Even though you're talking about the negative parts of crime and everything else. Yeah. Would he ever say to you, I'm proud of what you've achieved? Because what you've achieved, Danny, and what you do every day of your life, like my sister and 1,000 others out there, is wonderful. And for you to do what you're doing at your place of work each day, hats off to you, mate. And I'm very proud of you. We might have our little tiffs here and there about our clients, but I do love you. I do love you unconditionally, mate. You're a good guy. Shonky's son, you might be.
Thanks so much, Jen. Yeah, Joey. Jen often refers to me as Shonky's son, which I don't know exactly why that is, but I love it. Actually, I love
He's still a bit shifty, I might add.
Definitely. We don't. I remember thinking when I first got clean, right? I heard all this stuff about God and spiritual, becoming spiritual, and I remember thinking, oh, yuck! Like I don't want to become one of those people. Like, but one thing I learned over time is we don't lose our personalities and who we are. We just become a little bit. It's progress, not perfection.
Very good. I love that. Progress, not perfection. Very good.
Yeah, I love that. You could just totally see it, Danny, that you're recovering. It's because I know for me, like if someone were to tell me that they loved me, most of my life in active addiction and for a good 5 or 6 years of my recovery, it made me cringe.
Yeah.
It's like anytime I had the inability to form real intimate relationships with other human beings. It doesn't matter whether it be a family member, a friend, a coworker, a brother and sister in recovery, a romantic partner, and I've mentioned this before, and I never understood what intimacy really meant. And I in one of the treatment centers I was in, hopefully the last treatment center I'll ever be in 2009, there was a woman there, a counselor. And, this was the first person in my life. And a lot of it had to do with me being completely defeated and surrendered. But this was the first person in my life who I actually let in just a little bit, just past arm's length. And I'm not sure why I did. I think higher forces had something to do with that. Maybe it was a cry for help, but she pointed it out to me, how protected I was and all the defense mechanisms I had. And she said something to me like, you have intimacy issues. And I'm like, I thought intimacy meant sex. I'm like, I don't have any intimacy issues. And she broke it down for me in 4 words on the whiteboard. I
love the whiteboard.
Yeah, I love the whiteboard. They weren't X's and O's, but there were 4 words breaking down the word intimacy, into me, see. And what it really is about is not allowing people to see inside me because of how I felt about me. So this is a really good example of like, we can't give or receive what we don't have. So it needs to start with self. So, it shows that you are practicing self-love and self-respect, Danny, because you were able to accept, Jan's love in that moment. And I could see it. And that took me a really, really long time. And somebody said something to me that really helped. It's always the small, seemingly insignificant things that turn out to be the most powerful things. And I don't know if it was at a workshop or possibly in a 12-step meeting, but he noticed this about me. He noticed that when somebody offered me a compliment or shared something with me that they saw as a virtue or showed me some sort of progress that I had made, that I cowered. And he said to me, just if someone offers you a compliment or somebody points out what they see as one of your strengths or gifts or virtues, just simply say, thanks for noticing.
Yeah.
Thanks for noticing. And I started to do that, and it started to have an effect on me. Over time, slowly but surely, I didn't feel like crawling into a hole when somebody said that to me. Slowly but surely, that feeling that if like somebody was trying to show me love, that meant they're trying to fucking manipulate me, or that they wanted something from me, or something along those lines, slowly just started to fade away. That coupled with a very purposefully looking at the, being really careful how I spoke to myself, like no negative self-talk, no exceptions, and paying really close attention to what I was doing well on a daily basis, and of course what I had to be grateful for. Specifically the smaller things that I would normally take for granted. And I started to get well, and those are the simplest tools. And I could tell by the way you speak, Jan, it's like It's simple, it's direct, it's clear. Like those are the most powerful tools. Like it's not some big complex thing. You know, it's the simple, direct truths.
And you know, we use emotion often in everyday situations, but you've got to remember that in addiction, those receptors are blocked quite a lot, and they're hard to break through. So these small qualities, gratitude, empathy, resilience, they're easy. They're easy to focus on. Make it simple. Don't make it hard. You know, as a mother of two sons, and I brought them up on my own, you know, both totally different young men. You know, one can be very bombastic, one's a bit of a perfectionist, but both of them have great qualities as men, something that I'd like to think I have a part of. They wouldn't like to admit it because to them I'm mum, but resilience is a tool that all young men need to strive for, because you've got to be resilient to provide for your family, to have that effect on people that you can go forward and get them to listen to any message that you're trying to deliver. My elder son, in his chosen field now of business, he wants people to listen to what he's speaking. My younger son works in sport. He wants the same for him. But ultimately, both of the boys have a very strong lean to help people and to help people wherever they are and what they are, because they've grown up with the same. They grew up watching my sister in active addiction. They were told never to shame, just that's auntie, she's a bit different. We've got to help mum look after her. And to this day, both of my boys have always helped their friends in any way they can. That's something simple and probably a little bit non-significant for the show, but do you see how simple things can make a difference and how it flows down throughout the family unit? That's what you need to strive for.
Absolutely, Jeff. Can I share something quickly? Like I went to my son's OzTag game a couple of weeks ago. Right? We're coming off the field after they won, and my son, I said, see you later, I love you. And he said it back to me, right? I don't notice any difference, right? This is in amongst all his mates as well, right? And this mum sitting in the car as I went to get in my car, she goes, did he just say I love you like that to me? And he said, did he just say I love you too? I said, yeah, he did. She said, oh, my God, I can't believe he said that, like in front of his friends and that. So it's become so natural for me that I've been able to carry that to my son. And yeah, it's so powerful. When it feels natural to me, I guess it must feel natural to him as well. And I learned that. Jan, listen, we're running out of time. We talk a lot on this show. What is there anything else you want to cover? Is there anything else you'd like? Have we missed anything? You know, one of the things you did touch on it was the social media. I was trying to get some information, and so was Joey. About you. We're looking for a picture, a profile photo, and we couldn't track you down.
Off the grid, man. I love it. I got really good at operating off the grid. They couldn't find me anywhere. That's how you are.
Boys, yeah. I was a party girl once, but I'm now a keeper of secrets. So on that note, take care. Keep doing what you're doing.
Before we go, Joey, look, first of all, is there anything else you wanted to cover, Dan? Have we missed anything? Is there anything else that we want to talk about?
I think I've concentrated on my brief that you gave me, Danny, today.
Yeah, we've done very well. Joey, one of the things we like to do at the end of our shows, and actually before I do that, I just want to say thank you to everyone who joined us today and left a comment. It's wonderful to have your engagement, and there was at least one bunny support. I'm sure there's many more. Often I get messages after the show, direct messages from people. And it goes back to that stigma thing that we mentioned. You know, sometimes people, and if anyone out there would like to contact me, please feel free to message me. I'm sure that goes for Joey. And on that, Jen, because you don't have social media, if anyone wanted to find out some more information about the work you do, how would they contact you?
Through you.
Sure. Easy. Keep it simple. And Joey, how do we wrap this show up normally, mate?
Yeah, this is my favorite part of the show, and we share a tip, tool, or strategy or a hack to generate gratitude in our lives and increase happiness. And if you were listening over the course of the past 40 minutes and paying attention, you've picked up on a lot of them. And so my hope is that we can end the show with each of us sharing something unique to help people plug into the higher force of gratitude and increase their well-being. And, something sparked a thought in my mind when we were sharing, and I think it was the word shaming. And here's my tip. My tip is I think most pain, and suffering in the world has to do with judgment of ourselves, judgment of others, and comparing us with other people instead of finding common ground. So next time you see somebody, or you're in relationship with somebody, or somebody does something that maybe seem despicable to you, or may rub you the wrong way, or may seem like immoral, or just somebody simply being an asshole. Instead of judging them, just simply look at them and say, just like me. And I noticed that when I do that, and I don't know where I picked that tool up, that judgment, whatever they're doing that's affecting me melts away. And I think a lot of I'm not that energy that is coming off me when I am like judging somebody and shaming them doesn't come off me, and they don't feel it. And, it awakens me to the truth, which is that we're all made of the same stuff, and we all have our challenges, and we all go through our adversity, and we all have our shortcomings, and we're all just, one of, the idea of common humanity, being a human amongst humans. So that's my tip.
We're all just sick people trying to get well. That's what I say to the boys at rehab to bring myself back up. Thanks for sharing that. Joey, Jen, do you have any words of wisdom on how to improve our levels of happiness and gratitude that you could share with us before we go?
Well, definitely, we're not all sick people trying to get better. We're challenged at this moment, but we want to strive to be the best version of ourselves. And striving to be the best version of yourself is another challenge, but never give up. Never give up on you or what you want to do or your dreams. But above all, the message is to all those families and people that have loved ones in recovery, look at them. Look at how hard they try every day to be the best version of themselves. And that's the message that I want you to deliver. And think about that as we leave the show today. Guys, thank you so much for having me on. It's been a pleasure. I'm very passionate about my work, and I hope it's come across. And I always will, until I die, continue to help people. Thank you.
Definitely, Jen. Don't leave us yet. Just give us a couple more minutes. Let me share. One thing this morning, I had a group of a bunch of men, and for some reason, the topic was no matter what, right? But one of the things that I've learned, and that I want to share with you guys, is that over the years, I guess I've built enough confidence and self-esteem to not let people treat me like shit anymore, and not that people purposely try and treat me like shit, but if you hurt me or if anybody hurt me, I learned what it was like to let that fester inside me and not share it. And today I would suggest as my tip, and this is such a powerful thing, is if you feel hurt, you should let that person know. I don't care who they are. For me, and I have this way that I do it, and it's around owning my stuff. But when you said this to me, I felt hurt, and when I do that, it lets me get rid of any of those lingering resentments. It allows me to move on, and it also gives me a pat on the back for speaking up for myself. So I think, speak up for ourselves. I think so often as human beings, we don't speak up for ourselves enough. I certainly didn't for a long time, and that causes a lot of, they say like every resentment you pick up, it's like putting a stone in your pocket. Put enough stone in your pocket and it's going to really weigh you down. So, yeah, that's my little tip for the day. Thank you again to Jen. Joey, you're a legend. Jen, before you go, I'm going to end the broadcast. thank you everyone for joining us once again. We'll be back next Friday, same time, same place. We'll talk to you soon. Stay with us for a sec, Jen.